What's up guys, Coyote Works here. So today I'm out running another disaster drill or mock bug out scenario. And today the scenario I'm playing around with is a realistic bug out. So what I'm playing with today is the scenario that I'm out away from my home and I get notice that some type of a natural disaster is going to prevent me from going back to my home. But this is going to be relatively short term. Okay, so what makes this a bug out scenario or a disaster preparedness drill or mock bug out and not just any other camping trip? So what's different about this is I did absolutely nothing to my vehicle. I didn't stop by the store, I didn't stop by and get gas, I didn't buy one thing for this trip. So this is a drill to see, do I actually have everything in my vehicle I need to be comfortable for a few days? So I just made contact with Primal Outdoors and it sounds like he's stuck. So I'm gonna race to his location and help him get dug out, and then we'll move on to find our bug out location. The good news is I happen to have a little pocket full of Druvor and Rusk. So I'm gonna snack on a little bit of one of my favorite trail snacks. I did a video on this just a week or two ago that you guys can check out if you're interested. What's up, Primal Outdoors?
Well,
so you got stuck a little bit, huh?
Yeah, well, I figured we get this freaking adventure started off correct.
Well, maybe that'll help your day out a little bit.
Druvor always makes everything better.
So, in our mock bug out scenario, what we're going to be looking for is just a place that has some good resources, and the kind of resources we need are basically this time of year firewood. So after a few more miles, we found a place where we could get off the main road a ways, had some firewood, and a suitable place for us to make camp. My Blaze Solo stove by Expedition Research has rapidly become one of my favorite pieces of kit. Within a couple of minutes, I had enough water boiling for a nice cup of coffee and a Mountain House meal. Shortly afterwards, Primal had a Spam single frying up on his stove. We enjoyed a little lunch, and then we got busy setting up our camps.
All right, this is Jason with the Primal Outdoors channel.
What's up, guys? Casey with the Coyote Works channel.
And today we're going to be out doing just a little bit of a more realistic bug out scenario.
So what we're going to attempt to show you guys in this video is each of our kind of individual approaches to this. So if you're watching this video on my channel, make sure you go over to the Primal Outdoors channel and see his version of this trip video as well. All right, so now that we got some food in us, the next thing we're gonna do is get our individual tents set up. So as you guys know, my rooftop tent obviously sits on top of my truck all the time. So this is gonna be my shelter for this temporary kind of disaster drill or bug out situation. So the next thing I'm going to do is kind of take an inventory of my critical supplies. Mainly, I'm going to start with food and water and just get a good idea of what I have, because like I said, I didn't pack anything for this trip. So what I have to survive this short-term disaster scenario is just whatever's in my vehicle. So this is my food and cooking box. So let's take a look at what I have in here. So I'll get all my cooking supplies out of the way. So let's see what I actually have for food here. Alright, so I've got an inventory of my food supply, and it's actually looking pretty good. I've got about 13 Mountain House meals, I've got 2 of these Pace Ready meals, I've got 2 cans of Beanie Weenies, 3 packages or 3 cans of smoked oysters, a couple of things of oatmeal, and then there on the front you can see a handful of a variety of different energy bars and such. And then I also have about 14 packets of Starbucks Via here. Now keep in mind, outside of this food here, I've got another week's worth of food inside my inch pack, which is sitting in my vehicle. So the reality is that I'm looking pretty good on food supply. I have plenty of food to easily stay out here for 2 weeks really comfortably, and could even stretch it to 3 or 4 weeks. So while my food supply is looking pretty good, something that's not looking so good is my water supply. I have 1 gallon of water and then 2 water bottles full of this smart water. And then I've got this full canteen. In my day pack, I have a 32 ounce Nalgene that's full of water. And in my inch pack, I have another 32 ounce Nalgene and a 44 ounce clean canteen full of water. So I have about 2.5 gallons of water that's potable and ready to use. What I don't have is normally I have 5 gallons of water floating around in my vehicle. But this winter it's been so cold that was freezing solid in my car, so I took it out. So in this scenario, we have lots of snow around. We're not very far from a creek that's running with water this time of year, so water's not going to be an issue. But this is one thing I would point out about this trip for me. I would be a lot more comfortable if I had about 3 times this much potable water, ready to use potable water available in my vehicle. So this is my inch pack here. As you guys know, this just lives in my vehicle all the time. So I won't touch this pack for a trip like this. The only reason I would grab this pack is if I needed to walk away from the vehicle and leave all my supplies that were in it. So just looking a little bit at some of the other gear that I have in here, this is a little pad that's nice for sitting on the ground in front of a fire. I have in here my Silky Katana Boy saw. This gives me the ability to process large wood. Then I also have my Grants Force Brooks axe. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here strapped to my inch pack. And then I also have a Silky Big Boy saw here. So I've got lots of saws, especially important in the wintertime around here for processing firewood. That's a constant chore. Then this black bag here has fuel in it. I have 2 stoves in my setup that require butane fuel. So I've got a total of 6 canisters of butane fuel for my 2 stoves, 3 here in my fuel bag, 2 in my cooking box, and 1 in my day pack that my other butane stove is in. In addition, I've got 5 bottles of propane because I do have a propane buddy heater in here that if it gets really cold, I can use to keep my rooftop tent nice and cozy. So now for one of my favorite subjects, the firearms. So because I didn't have a chance to go back by my house and get anything else, I only have 2 firearms with me. One is my carry piece. I'm always carrying a handgun. I've got an extra magazine for it, and I do have extra ammo in the vehicle. And then what I have is my Remington 870. This is the 870 Police Magnum, so it has the heavier barrel, the Wilson Combat sights on it. It's just a good, reliable, typical Remington 870 pump shotgun. For it, I have 25 rounds of extra ammo on this belt right here, and then I have 1 more box of shells in my range bag. As you guys know, one of my all-time favorite pieces of gear is my Hill People Gear chest pack. And it's stocked with a certain amount of supplies too, but it also just has a lot of the things that I like to have handy and on me while I'm around camp. Spoons, lighter, things like that. Stay tuned to my channel for part 2 of this video where I'll show you guys more of the gear I used, how we set up our community camp and cooking area, and ultimately talk about some of the lessons learned from this trip. Until then, Coyote Works out.